What's going on? It's Suk and I'm back with a brand new video on SuperDuprTech. And in today's video, I'll be bringing you my full and in-depth review of the M3 powered 14-inch MacBook Pro. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers, so if you are new around here, then I must ask you to hit the subscribe button, clicking the bell to be notified of when a new video goes live. But without any further ado, let's hit the titles. So first up, the design. The design of this MacBook Pro follows the same design language which we've seen with the redesigned MacBook Pros from 2021. They're built incredibly well with no flex to the chassis, using aluminium and glass. The M3 powered MacBook Pros are only available in space grey and silver, and you'll only find the space black option on those other models which come with the M3 Pro or M3 Max chips. The only branding on this machine is the Apple logo on the lid and the embossed MacBook Pro text on the bottom of the casing. Like we've seen previously, on the left side of this MacBook Pro, you'll find the MagSafe 3 charger port. You'll also find two Thunderbolt 4 USB-C ports, along with a 3.5mm headphone jack, which supports high impedance headphones. Where things get a little different is on the right side of this MacBook Pro, you have a HDMI 2.0 port, along with an SD card slot. So if you need that additional Thunderbolt 4 port, you will need to opt for the M3 Pro or M3 Max models. Included with these MacBook Pro models is a 70-watt USB-C power adapter, which does not support fast charging. So if you do want to fast charge this MacBook, then you will need to pay an additional £10 to Apple for them to include a 96-watt power adapter, which is a little disappointing as many people will opt to purchase the base model, which does not come with this fast charger included. And from my experience, I've noticed that a 30-minute charge with this power adapter will normally charge this MacBook to around 37%. And whilst it's not the end of the world, I think Apple should not have put this behind a paywall, especially considering that most people will just be purchasing the base model, especially from retailers like Amazon, as they're typically cheaper than buying them directly through Apple. Lifting the lid on this MacBook Pro reveals the beautiful high resolution, high refresh rate, high brightness display. And as I mentioned, high brightness, this display is slightly brighter than what we've seen with previous Mac models, as now when it comes to viewing SDR content, you'll find you'll be able to get up to 600 nits in brightness, whereas with previous models it was capped up to 500. You've still got the same peak 1600 nits of brightness when it comes to viewing HDR content, but it's certainly nice to see an improvement no matter how small it is. It has a resolution of 3024 by 1964, which indeed gives it a pixel density of 254 pixels per inch. It still supports Apple's True Tone technology and is able to display colors from within the P3 color gamut. With this screen getting slightly brighter, I have noticed that there is a little bit more blooming on the screen than what I've seen previously with other models. But that's not to say that it's bad. Of course, if you are increasing the brightness up to its maximum and you're watching anything on a black background, then you'll certainly notice the blooming. But if the brightness is lowered just slightly, then you'll almost never notice it. And talking about things you won't notice, the notch. I mean, yeah, the notch has stayed the same as we've seen it from the 2021 models, which whilst it might be a little disappointing, once again, you won't notice it. Yes, it certainly would have been nice to see a slightly smaller notch, but once again, it's not the end of the world. I would have loved to have seen Face ID built into this notch, but that's not the case. We still have the same 1080p Full HD FaceTime HD camera, and you'll also find that this MacBook has 3 studio quality microphones. So let's take a little listen to how my voice sounds through these microphones, along with how this webcam is performing. The footage that you're looking at this current moment is being recorded on an M1 Pro enabled 14-inch MacBook Pro. So you should get a good idea as to how I sound, along with how, of course, the camera on this MacBook Pro is performing. Now, as I saw in that previous photograph from Photo Booth, the newer 2023 model clearly has some differences, and I can notice it at least within my beard. So let's keep a little look around my beard to see how the hairs are at the current moment, and then when I switch over to the 2023 M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro, let me know how it looks. This is being recorded off of the 2023 M2 Pro enabled 14-inch MacBook Pro. So how does this look in comparison to what we've seen with the M1 Pro enabled MacBook Pro? Yeah, I mean, just taking a little look at it, yeah, I can definitely tell the difference in my beard. That's for sure. Hopefully that's being picked up in the video, but I can certainly see a difference here. And yeah, I mean, if this was a video call, I'd much prefer the quality that I'm seeing from this MacBook Pro. So it's interesting that the image signaling processor that's in the M2 Pro is performing a lot better than what I initially had imagined. Solid. It really is quite solid. The footage that you're now watching has been recorded on an M3 powered 14-inch MacBook Pro, and you should get a good feel for how I sound, along with how I look and how the image signaling processor found within this 14-inch MacBook Pro's M3 chip is performing when it comes to my skin tones, how sharp my beard is, and just overall the tone mapping of what you're looking at. So it's quite interesting to see that this M3 powered MacBook Pro probably has the worst camera quality along with the worst microphone quality in comparison to the M1 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro and the M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro. Now when it comes to the ports, I'm sure you're looking at it and thinking, oh damn, it's got one less port than the other higher end MacBook Pro models. But at the end of the day, this MacBook Pro is replacing the previous Touch Bar models, so you're getting more ports for your money regardless. And if you go traveling and you take a camera with you, that SD card reader alone is probably worth the upgrade, as you won't need to be carrying around additional adapters and dongles that will probably get damaged. Having that HDMI port is still very good. Once again, you don't need to carry around any adapters, dongles. It's just better. So this MacBook Pro has 6 high fidelity speakers along with some force cancelling woofers. Take a little listen to how it sounds and let me know what you think. The keyboards on these MacBook Pro models are great. I have no issues or complaints to say here. You've still got the full-size function row key along with Touch ID in the top right corner. The keyboard deck is a solid black colour and stands out against the silver or space grey finish of the MacBook. As I mentioned, it comes with Touch ID, and Touch ID I find is still very fast, very reliable, and at the end of the day it's still better than nothing. Yes, I would have liked to have seen Face ID on these MacBooks, but I guess I'll just have to wait till next year. If you've ever owned a Mac, or if you've ever tried a MacBook's trackpad, or if you've ever tried a trackpad from Apple, then you most likely have already experienced the best trackpad in the business. It's pressure sensitive and has 3 different levels of click. You've got your normal tap, you've got a force click along with a normal click, which will allow you to do different things depending on which application or program that you're within. In terms of the wireless connectivity, we still have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3 support, so no changes on this front. Many already watching this video are already aware of how fast and how great the performance has been of these Apple Silicon machines. And it's no different here. In fact, on the single core side of things when it comes to the CPU, we've seen massive gains, and especially even on the graphics side. And when it comes to doing slightly more intensive tasks using Blender or any other 3D modeling software, I found that the GPU on these MacBooks to be quite impressive. 8GB of unified memory is just not enough in 2023 going into 2024. I mean, we've had 8GB of RAM on MacBooks for the longest time, probably over 10 years, going on 15 years at this point. And I believe especially on devices which have the Pro branding, they need to have more than 8. And perhaps 12GB of unified memory as a baseline, at least on this model compared to the 18 which we have on the M3 Pro models, would have been just about enough to justify the difference, as there have been instances where I have been using Blender and it runs out of system memory, and when it comes to playing games, that's a different story. You need that additional memory. But hey, I've already uploaded videos testing and comparing this MacBook, so you might want to check the card in the top right corner to go and check out the performance of the CPU. I've also uploaded videos in which I've showcased what it was like to play a handful of games on this MacBook. So once again, there are cards in the top right corner of this video, and you'll also find links down below in this video's description. But honestly, if you are looking to do anything intense, then you probably want to be looking towards the M3 Pro and M3 Max MacBook Pros. And one thing I have to comment on is the SSD's performance. I mean, I would certainly have expected to see much better performance on this MacBook Pro's SSD side, but that's sadly not the case. As you can see, the SSD in this MacBook Pro gets outclassed even by a 2-year-old M1 Pro MacBook Pro. And when it comes to macOS has been great across the board. There are some areas with macOS Sonoma that I would suggest Apple to look into or improve certain aspects of, but at the end of the day, it's still been very reliable and I'm yet to have any major issues with it. If there's one area that I would suggest Apple improve, it'll definitely have to be the widget situation on the desktop. I like having access to my smart appliances like my bulbs, but I hate the fact that I have to go directly once again into the home application to be able to adjust the brightness and colors of those lights. I would like to see some more interactive aspects come to the widgets. So I've already seen this MacBook Pro on sale at a number of different locations, ranging from around £1,500 to £1,600. Then for the right person, it's more than a compelling buy. It's still a great device. It's got enough ports for most people, it's got a great trackpad, it's got a good keyboard, one of the best displays on any laptops, it's got a decent webcam and good microphones. It also has very good speakers. Battery life, which is very envious, the performance is still very good, and it's still quite a thin and light device. So for £1,500, it's probably a no-brainer, especially for those upgrading from Intel-based machines. And if you need the M3 Pro models, you probably already know, but for the M3 models, I think it's quite decent. I mean, yeah, size-wise, it fits right between the 13 and 15-inch MacBook Pro, but at the end of the day, you get a much better screen. You've got ProMotion, you've got that additional brightness, you've got the HDR capabilities of the XDR display. In my opinion, the speakers still sound better than those MacBook Airs. You've got more ports, you've got more performance. At the end of the day, the price is warranted, and only you will know if you need the additional capabilities found within the M3 chip over the M2 in those MacBook Air models. I want to briefly touch up on the battery life. As you can see, the battery life that I've had with this MacBook Pro has been great, and whilst I've been using it for a few hours a day, as you can see just by the standby time, I've not charged this MacBook Pro in over a week and I've still had over 20% battery life remaining. Honestly, the battery life on these MacBook Pro models is really something else. And once again, if you are traveling around, then I would suggest an Apple Silicon MacBook just because of battery life. But there you have it. That has been it for today's video. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, if you learned anything new, then be sure to hit the like button. And if you are new around here and want to be one of the first 5,000 people to do so, then go ahead and subscribe, clicking the bell to be notified of when a new video goes live. As always, if you've got any questions with anything you've seen in today's video, then be sure to leave them down below in this video's comment section, or alternatively you can hit me up on my social media, links to which can be found down below in this video's description. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one.